Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now, for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only, Supernatural Girls.
And we're going to take a look at what's been going on. Now, we've got to remember this is a new month. It's going to be all about our Scorpio issues. And it's good for some people, not for everybody, but it's a time of transformation. And that's the thing we have to pay attention to. Scorpio teaches us how to deal with the fears and fantasies that go on in our life. So we have to take a look at how to make it work better on our behalf for a change. Once we're done with doing things that seem to frighten us, we can put things aside and say, hey, let's really take a look at what's going on. This is a new month, new beginnings, and it is a time when Scorpio is involved. It's a sign of death as well as rebirth, and it comes from the Sagittarius aspect of the sign. So it has a lot to teach us because we're releasing the old, making way for the new. And that's the hardest part for us, is to let go of what is. I always say, if you get this big bag, put it alongside of you when you're in the car, you drive down the road, take the things that have been bugging you, shove it in the bag, drop the window, visualize yourself throwing it out. Doesn't matter where it goes. Just don't take it home with you. Enough is enough. Whatever your personal year that you're in right now, everything seems to be doubling up on us. And when we're dealing with this month, it is a new beginning in many respects, but it teaches us how to deal with the fears that we've had. Shall we say the boogeyman, let go, let God? We're in better shape doing it that way. Now, remember that the issues of the past arise this month because the 9 month that we're in, it brings the present in order for us to cut the cord, let go of things that no longer work on our behalf, or in order for us to cut the cord, let go of things that no longer. So when we're taking a look at things like that, the emotions are very high at this point in time, and super high, super low. It all depends on what we're going through. It is a time to let go of the past, make way for the future, what's coming up. But emotions, like I said, the highs and lows, they're fueling everything we do and everything we've got going on around us. And it's time that we have to really take a look at what is it that we really need. And on my webpage, I put, the mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's opened. And this, I don't know who the person was that put that together, but that is oh so true of what's going on right now. We've got a lot of things that are very positive that will be taking place, but cut the cord of all the negative things. We don't have to carry that anymore. We're getting ready for all these new beginnings. Let go of our past issues, take a look at the present, and then weigh it out and see which one makes us feel the best. Get rid of what you need to and build on what you can.
All right. Well, I think this is all good news, right?
Oh, I think so. And like I said, getting rid of the past, I hope that's going to be true with what's taking place today, but far be it from me to say anything.
Hey, fingers crossed. It's looking good.
Fingers and toes.
Yes, it's looking very good for us. So hooray, hooray.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wonderful to have you back. I wanted to say welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
We had spiritual interference.
Well, I came back at the right time then.
Anyways, it's great to have you back, and it's great to have your update on everything because we've all missed that. So thank you.
Well, I think the hardest part for all of us, Scorpio, it has its own sting to it, but it's a good time to reevaluate and really let go. because starting next month, we're off and running.
Are we now? Oh boy.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, I wanted to just share that the astrologer that we know and love, William Stickevers, wanted to announce that he has done a lot of projection on the election. He's done a lot of, in fact, he was on Coast to Coast last night talking about it. So if you'd like to go visit him on Facebook, go ahead. He's got a map there. He has made his prediction. It's very interesting. I love William. He's been accurate
Very
about
much so.
almost everything he's done. So we love having him on the show. But anyways, he does have a map. He does have some thoughts to share. So if you're interested in his perspective on the election, you can go to his Facebook page. That's William Stickevers on Facebook, and you'll get a lot of information. In the meantime, everybody else, just keep breathing.
Deeply, deeply.
Yes, it's very, very exciting time. So anyways, tonight we have a fabulous guest, has a new book, and one of our favorite topics, as you know, we love talking, there it is, about dreams.
That's right. Our favorite thing.
Yes. Now, Robin Corak is the author of Dream Magic, Change Your Reality Through the Liminal World of Sleep. It was just published by Llewellyn. And she's also the author of previous books entitled Persephone and Demeter. She is a former member of the International Association for the Study of Dreams and has presented locally and at national conferences, including Paganicon, the Water Priestess Confluence, and excuse me, the Ninefold, thank you, Festival 2019. A longtime member of the Sisterhood of Avalon, Robin currently writes a blog for Agora Patheos entitled Phoenix Rising, in addition to teaching workshops on a diverse array of metaphysical topics. She also offers services, including Reiki, coaching, and tarot reading. Robin lives off the coast of Washington State on San Juan Island with her husband, Richard, and her cat, Kaia. So you can find more information about her on her website at Phoenix, AWEN rising.com. Robin, welcome to our crazy show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very happy to be here.
Great to have you. Yes, wonderful to have you with PK back, number one, and with this fabulous new book. And as we talked about this, we love talking about dreams, and you have a very unique perspective on all of this. So tell us how you got into it.
Sure. So going back to when I was a child, the first interaction I had with dreams that was unusual for me was I remember we were in Oregon with my cousins, my grandparents. My grandfather was in the hospital. And so my cousins, my sister, and I were sleeping in the room. And I had this dream that my grandfather came over to say hi to me. And it's true to his character, he was holding his patient gown so nothing would show and giggling. And he had his trademark fedora hat on. And he came to tell me goodbye. And he stepped into a limo and waved out the window and drove off. And shortly after I woke up, our parents came in to tell us my grandfather had died. And so that was the first dream experience I had that really started me thinking. However, at the time it scared me, I think, more than anything else. And so I just kind of pushed it aside. But as I got older and these dreams kept happening, I decided to look into it, embrace it. And high school, I did a research project on dreams. And then as I got older and evolved, I just constantly was fascinated. So I've been keeping dream journals since I was 16. And just done a lot of research, a lot of experiences. And as you mentioned, being a part of the International Association for the Study of Dreams, I wanted to be able to share a comprehensive guidebook, I guess you would say, for anyone working with dreams, because whenever I would do workshops on dreams, I had so many people come up to me and ask me about their dreams or how they do this or how they do that. And so I'm really blessed to be able to share my experiences and my knowledge with the world.
That's wonderful. I mean, we have talked about this topic, as I mentioned, with our audience many, many times. But one of the things that we find rather frustrating is there's interest, a lot of interest. However, people don't want to do the work of it. So you find that?
I do find that. And that's, people sometimes don't want to hear this, but one of the most powerful things you can do is to keep a dream journal. And, some people don't like to write. That's perfectly understandable, but there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, most of us have a phone with a voice recorder. So it could be as simple as just waking up in the morning, recording what you remember of your dreams and setting it aside. You can also draw your dreams. But for me, writing is the most powerful. But I do tell people you have to do the work. And you'd be sometimes people are really surprised that if they do start keeping a dream journal as one of the steps, that their memory recall gets better and they start to see patterns. And so, yeah, you really do have to do the work. The nice thing is we dream every night. So we have 365 nights out of the year to
Right.
play with this. And it doesn't take much time to record your dreams.
It really doesn't. And then people also get stymied by, well, what do they mean? They seem like they don't make sense, but of course they do. It's just a different language. But it's wonderful to have someone like you on who's inspired and passionate about dreams to hopefully encourage more people to take a look at this. We've always felt that people who are not taking advantage of this opportunity are really leaving a lot of personal power on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of personal direction on the table. So yeah, it's really great to have you here. So, and it's, like you said, you can use a voice recorder. I've told people just take the overall theme of the dream and write it down. If you're too lazy to write down a whole big, thesis about it, then do just a few words so you'll remember it. So it'll come back to you. What do you tell your clients and your audience that has a hard time remembering their dreams?
My direct question for me as well. I never remember them.
Interesting.
That is an anyway.
I think that when it comes to the dream journal, I think people get hung up on not having anything or feeling like they don't have anything to record. But for me, I always try to talk about, even if it's just a feeling. You wake up with a certain feeling. And most people I know have had at least one dream where they wake up with just a strong emotion that they just can't quite, get rid of or shake. And so even if you're just writing down how you feel or the haziest of details, I do have a meditation in my book that is basically this, what I call the silver yarn meditation. And it's a way to kind of work backwards into your dream state. And it doesn't, this takes a lot of practice too, because if you think about it, unlike some other societies, our society isn't really that focused on dreams. We're not taught to pay attention to dreams. And so it's not like you're going to, write down a journal entry one day and all of a sudden you're going to remember everything. But putting in that work, as you said, over time, I think does help. And a lot of people don't remember their dreams. I have people tell me I don't dream, which is actually everyone dreams. Scientifically, they've shown everyone dreams. It's just kind of finding what works for you to get yourself back in that state. They say that if you do it first thing in the morning, or I guess I should say after you wake up, if you do it right then, you're more likely to capture and start remembering your dreams.
Exactly. I remember when I was in practice and people would start keeping track of their dreams and they would find themselves having dreams about when they were in the second grade and when they were 5, when they were 6. So I always ask them, was that the time that your parents told you don't pay attention? It's only a dream. And you just stopped. So it's like, yeah, but then quickly they can evolve beyond those early years to catch up with where they are today. But I've also said it's just like any other relationship. You have to get a pathway going. You have to develop that relationship, put energy into it so that your dreaming mind knows you want to know what's going on. So very important to do. And a lot of the people I worked with ended up being able to get prophetic dreams, which was very exciting. So, and I'm sure you find the same thing when people put the time and effort into it and that relationship grows, it's a very close and powerful relationship.
Absolutely. And I think it's, to me, it's fascinating because when you talk about the relationship, I think that is so true. It's the integration of your conscious and subconscious self. And the problem is they don't speak the same language. And so when you're sleeping, of course, that is when your subconscious comes out and communicates, but it communicates usually in visuals and images and things like that. And so I think one of you said, there's so much wisdom in our subconscious being able to really pay attention to that part of ourselves and develop that relationship can bring us so much power and personal sovereignty, so much clarity oftentimes. And I think that's a really important relationship to develop. And I think part of it is just stating that intent and following through with that intent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, again, there's so much power in that. And especially as women, I think still struggle with their identity, our identity in the world. It's very helpful. It does point the way. It does give you hints. It does tell you where your blocks are. So it's just an unending and free source of information. So anyways.
I can remember over the years, I could remember specific times when my dreams, I could remember them. And then all of a sudden there was a period where I can't remember anything of a dream anymore.
Yeah.
And I'll get an anticipation of a thought. And I'm thinking, was that part of a dream? Did I have that to help me memorize what I wanted to deal with on a day-to-day basis? Because I don't remember my dreams. I don't think at this stage, I don't think I dream anymore. And yet I know I must.
Yeah.
How does one pull that part out?
You know, that is very interesting. So one of the things that also helped me when I really started focusing on trying to remember my dreams and figure that out, and it sounds like such a simple thing, but I find that our mind, especially our subconscious mind, works really well with cues or triggers. And so in addition to the after effect of recording things beforehand, I have pre-dream work rituals, and I talk about this in the book, that I will do when I'm trying to manifest an answer to a question or something like that, or a specific dream. I have a dream altar that I'll use. I have a dream doll. Sometimes I'll do a crystal grid, but one of the most helpful things, and it's a simple thing, is having a cue like incense or something, and having a routine. And it's the same thing with when I started a meditation practice. I have major monkey mind. I have a hard time sitting still and meditating. And so I would light incense just because I like the way it smells. And after a while, I realized that when I would light the incense, my mind would start to automatically calm down. It's like my subconscious knew, oh, this is meditation time. Okay. And so I applied some of those same techniques to dreams. And so building in that trigger and that cue can be another way to help you start to remember your dreams. But it is very interesting. I mean, there's always mysteries, right? Because we're never completely in communication with our subconscious in a way that is straightforward.
Yes, exactly. And so do you find that the dreamy mind responds well to ritual?
For me personally, yes, and I've found that with other people as well. There's something about it, and I think part of it too is just getting ourselves in that mindset. It's a liminal space, right? Dreaming is a liminal space. You kind of have a foot in both worlds, and so I try to go with the like attracts like. So one of the things I do when I'm doing a dream ritual is I try to take a pre-dream work bath, and I have some recipes for bath salts and things like that. But the reason this works for me, one, baths are very relaxing for a lot of people. But two, I think about the liminal space of water and being held in the water, even though I'm still on the earth. And so just trying to get my mindset into that liminal place, I think is another part of my dream work ritual or routine that also helps to cue my subconscious.
Nice. Very nice. So for people who are having a hard time remembering, I see you have a recipe. Tell us about your recipe.
Yes. So is that the tea that you're referring to? Or
Yes.
is it? Okay. Yes. So I love making teas. I love playing around with teas. And there are many herbs and oils that are really great dream allies. And so I try to work with, and it really depends what your intent is. And so I think for the tea that you're talking about, because I think there's more than one recipe, it's really looking at things like what are some relaxing herbs. So lavender is one. What are some more herbs that help you have vivid dreams or prophetic dreams? Mugwort has a very strong association with dreams. And so I try to put those together. And drinking that tea, especially what I love to do is sit in the bath and drink the tea as long as I don't get overheated. Just try to do a little bit of both, just relaxing. But for me, tea is very relaxing. And what I love is that, once you become familiar, and I always say you should always check with your doctor about any kind of herbs that you're using in a tea. once you get familiar and you've taken those steps and done that research, you can make all sorts of teas depending on the type of dream work that you want to do.
And what about oils? Are there any special oils you like to use?
Yes, and so there's a whole list in the book, but I'll think one is ylang ylang, or I'm sorry, not ylang ylang. That is a good one, clary sage. And I don't know if you've ever smelled clary sage, but when you get that immediate hit, and it's just otherworldly. And so that's an oil. It really depends. So like rose is a good oil if you have anxiety about sleep or you've had a lot of nightmares. And then there's other oils like mint has been known to create really vivid images in your dreams. And so you can actually put those, you can put them in a dream doll. Like you can put them on like a cotton ball near under your pillow. The other thing I like to do is rub them into the soles of my feet before I go to sleep, because we have the most pores in that area. So it really absorbs into your bloodstream and your skin. Yeah.
Very
I
nice.
would not have thought about the soles of the feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
I had an aromatherapist tell me that. And I never knew about that before either, but there's something to it.
No, that's wonderful. So what do you tell people to do about nightmares?
Yes, so nightmares are a challenge, and I wish there was a magic wand to make them go away, but there's not. I think, one of the things too is to really do some pre-work to get you into a relaxing state. But if we think about the fact that our subconscious is trying to communicate with us in our dreams, then what that tells me is that there's something that if you're having nightmares, particularly if you're having patterns of nightmares or repetitive nightmares, there's something that you need to pay attention to that perhaps you're not. And so some of it is the more, I guess I would say, muggle work of keeping the journal and that sort of thing. Some of it for me has been working with allies and guides to kind of figure out what's going on there and what am I supposed to be hearing and what am I supposed to be doing as a result of that. I see it as it's a horrible thing, but it's also kind of a quest in a way. Like there's something I'm supposed to be listening to or doing, and my subconscious is not going to stop until I pay attention to it. And so, I one of the goddesses that I work with for nightmares is the Morrigan, which is the war goddess, the Irish war goddess. And she can be very helpful. She has a very direct and sometimes scary way of getting our attention in our dreams. But by working with her and even just asking for a gentler communication, that has been helpful for me in helping to understand certain nightmares. The other thing I would say is if you can do some lucid dreaming, then when those nightmares occur, you can be aware that it's a nightmare. And sometimes you can create situations where you can find your way out of the nightmare.
Yeah, that's good advice. I know with the clients that I worked with, a lot of times I found that they were getting nightmares because they weren't paying attention to their dreams. So it's one way of getting people's attention. It's like, well, I sent you this, you didn't remember it. I sent you that, you didn't remember it. And now I'm going to scare the crap out of you. So you will remember this. And it is helpful to people in a strange way, because then they're like, oh my God, I had this horrible nightmare last night. So it does get their attention on whatever this subject is. And also, like you were mentioning, with lucid dreaming, I find that if people confront their fear in the nightmare, then it transforms into something else. As soon as you got your attention on it, you call on your dream allies and you're not there by yourself anymore. And then all of a sudden things change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's profound, and it's always for the better.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard stories like this, where when I was first studying dream analysis a million years ago, there was a woman who had a dream. She'd wake up every night with her heart pounding because her nightmare was that there was somebody standing over her bed with a knife.
Oh.
And so, yeah. And so she'd wake up terrified and her heart pounding and sweating and everything else. And then finally, after some dream training, she learned to calm down in the dream, become more lucid, and face it. And when she turned to face whatever this was over her bed with a knife, it transformed into the most beautiful, beautiful rendition of herself. That's what she had been avoiding. And the dreamy mind finally got her attention, And then she was able to connect with this beautiful part of her. But who knew that this would be at the end of the story, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think, one thing I've found is that the more in the past when I've tried to run from my subconscious, the more it's in my face. If I run, it just starts running faster to catch up to me.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of indigenous cultures that really do believe in working through the power of dreams, whether it's after they've had the dream or a lot of times in their dream. It's the very exact same thing you were saying, where it's part of their goal is to face their fears in their dream.
Right. Yeah. And I know there's tribes, as you mentioned, with indigenous people that have taught their children right from the get-go to remember their dreams, face their fears, ask for a gift from whatever was scaring them once they find the courage to confront it. I mean, there's this whole culture that they teach around that. And my understanding was, many years ago anyways, they didn't have any violence in their culture. How unusual.
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of the stories that really stayed with me when I was doing the research for this book was I can't remember their name, but it's in the book, an Ecuadorian tribe. And they, every morning when they wake up, they get in a circle and they all share their dreams. And if someone has a dream about having a conflict with another member of the group, even if during their waking hours they're fine, they're forced to work it out. That's how much they really believe in the power of dreams and the importance of dreams.
Yes. And to have no violence in their culture, I mean, goodness, look at what we're facing now.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does. I mean, it's the kind of thing I wish they taught in school.
Yes.
So that children could learn this. It would help them manage so much better instead of having to take medication or whatever the heck they're doing to these kids now. So yeah, it's this missing part of us that we can get back. Again, if people get your book and read it,
it will make it a lot easier for them to understand it.
It would indeed, indeed, indeed. So tell us some of your stories. Have you been able to have a major transformation, or your clients, by following these protocols with dreams?
Yes. So there's a couple things I would share. One is that a lot of people ask me about dream dictionaries. And for me personally, dream dictionaries have not been consistently helpful. Sometimes it'll hit the nail on the head, and sometimes I'm just like, this does not make any sense to me at all. And so one thing that I started doing and started sharing with my audience is creating your own dream journal. And so what I mean by that is taking a few words like, and I did this in a couple workshops, the word apple, and just doing a stream of consciousness list of what apple means to you. And it was really telling, because when I would ask people to share, you had one person who thought about health because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Another person thought about love because their son had planted an apple tree for them for their birthday. So all that to say that while there are some universal symbols, I believe, that can be helpful in dream dictionaries, I think getting to know the language of your own subconscious can be actually very, very effective. And I always encourage people to look back on their dictionaries that they've created, because sometimes those meanings for us evolve over time. But dreams have really helped me in every area of my life. I'll just give you two quick examples. One was prior to I retired earlier this year from my day job. So I was in the nonprofit world for many, many years. And I was working as a chief operations officer in a large nonprofit social services organization. And I had this dream that my supervisor, the CEO, was leaving, and she wanted me to apply for her position. And this was laughable to me. I actually woke up and I laughed, and I told my husband, "You'll never believe this dream I had." And he said, "Why is that so funny?" And I'm like, I don't know. I never thought of myself that way. And that actually happened. And I became the CEO. I was a CEO for 12 years. But prior to that dream, I never would have thought of myself that way. And I never would have positioned myself in my power that way. So that's one example. The other, yeah. And then the other example I'll give you is I get a lot of visits from deceased loved ones in my dreams. And so my father passed away last year. And I remember getting a little bit frustrated towards the end of the year because I hadn't seen him in a dream. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, all these people I know come to me in dreams. Where's my dad? Well, finally, right before Christmas time, I had said to my mom, I wish I could just have one more Christmas with my dad. And that night I had a dream where I was in a house. I was surrounded by family. It was gorgeously decorated. And I was just, there was so much love and warmth. And I turned around and I saw my father there, and he said, well, you said you wanted one more Christmas, so here it is.
Oh,
And then he went away in a sled. But it was just like so reassuring and
yeah,
heartwarming. So
yes. Gosh, what a beautiful dream.
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Well, again, these moments are powerful connections. And like you said, you were frustrated because you hadn't seen him yet, even though he'd passed. But there he was. He heard you loud and clear. That's fantastic. Just fantastic. Yeah, one dream I did want to share with everybody is the one I had right before 9/11. So first what happened was these strange things come out of my mouth for no reason. And I had to go to North Carolina to do an article about the Maharishi Ayurveda medical spa there. So I sacrificed myself, to go to the
Oh, you're right.
for a week. But before
Sure.
before I left, I turned to my husband and I said, there's going to be a terrorist attack on American soil. And he just started laughing his head off. He thought that was the most ridiculous thing
Mhm.
he'd ever heard, and certainly put that in that category about me. So I said, I'm telling you, mark my words. I don't know why I'm saying this, but it's going to happen. So I went to North Carolina to the spa, and the night before I was supposed to leave, I had a dream that I was watching the ocean, and this enormous shark, like 30 stories high, rose up out of the water. And I knew this is happening. This is happening. So that morning, I got all my stuff together, and their chauffeur was driving me back to the airport. And I got a phone call from my husband who said, you might as well turn around and go back because we've been attacked and they've grounded all the planes. So I was like, I told you. But again, it was something that for some reason, came through me. And then the dream confirmed that it was happening and the timing was right,
Mhm.
right on the money. So it was a very, very interesting and powerful experience. Unfortunate that everything happened. But I also found dreams about weather events like tornadoes, very destructive things coming to some of my clients, and it usually pointed the way towards a health issue. Have you found that?
I have not with health issues. For example, with tornadoes, what they've often pointed to is conflict coming, being swept up. But I think, it's very possible that it's health issues too, because like I said, we all have our own subconscious language. And so it's like our subconscious kind of knows, what's going to make us think of certain things. So yeah, I can see how that would definitely be a health issue, because really too, if you think about it, we embody a lot of the elements within us, right? So if there's some sort of natural disaster involving the elements, I can completely see how that would relate to our own internal and external health.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And we had someone on the show. Remember this lady who she was a newscaster, and she had breast cancer, and her dream told her she had breast cancer.
Oh, yes.
So remember that? And she
Yes.
survived, but then she had a dream that it was back. And
Mhm.
she went to the doctor because the dream was very specific. I think this was like the third time that she had breast cancer,
Mhm.
something crazy like that. And she went to her doctor, and she had this dream that she had it, but they wouldn't find it unless they did a very specific test. Remember this one?
Right. Mhm.
And so the doctor refused to do the test.
Cost
And
prohibitive was the terms that they used at the time.
yes. So she got down on the floor and had a full-blown temper tantrum and said, I am not leaving your office until you give me the order for this test. And
Right.
she started crying and screaming and pounding the floor. And her husband was with her, and he was so embarrassed that she was doing this, but she did exactly the right thing.
Mhm.
She had the test, And it turned out she did have the cancer back, and they told her they never would have found it with any other test. So there's the wisdom.
Absolutely. I mean, that is amazing and good for her, by the way, because I think, particularly as women, we have a tendency to just set our intuition aside because we don't want to make a scene or things like that. But good for her, because that's, I wish everyone had, and it's so hard in our society sometimes, so I wish everyone had that same level of confidence in their intuition and their dreams.
Yes. And she went on to write a book about it and got a lot of stories from other women who had the same types of things happen, where their dreaming mind told them their diagnosis or what treatment they should use even. So all of this, which they would have called witchery in the past,
Still do.
powerful. Yeah, it's medicine that works, and there's no reason why we can't combine the ancient types of things with the modern technology.
Absolutely.
But, one of the things with this 9-year that we're going into,
Mhm.
it brings issues of the past up and puts them right smack in front of us. Do we push to get the answers to it, or do we accept it as, well, it's just one of those things? And that's so easy for us to do. And right now, what's holding us back is not believing what we feel to go forward.
That's so true. It's so true. It does hold us back. I've watched so many people give their power away to
Oh, God, yes.
doctors, take care of me, fix me. It's not how it works. Not at all.
Unfortunately, that's quite true. And you have to fight so many times just to get the basic things covered.
Yeah.
And you will know it, you feel them, but how do you express it to somebody else that has their arms crossed across their chest and they've got their brain tilted on
Mhm.
Right.
Right. But again, having this relationship with your dreaming mind, I think, gives you the confidence, gives you the
That's
power
right.
to take it forward and go, I'm not leaving your office till I have this test. That's it. That's what
Fight
gave
for
her
the
that.
best part.
Yeah. And she saved her own life that way because the doctor wasn't going to, was not going to. So, yeah, I think, anybody who leaves this kind of power on the table is doing themselves a big disservice. And do you find too that dreams change as we age?
That is a really interesting question. And it's funny because I know our sleep patterns and sleeping changes as we age. So I would think that it would be reflected within. I think, I think that's very possible. I think for me, it mirrors what I focus on or what is, most in my mind. And that, of course, has changed with age and with time as well. It's interesting because I think the older I get, in a weird way. So let me back up for a second. I have a rare medical condition. So I've always felt a connection to the liminal. And I loved when you were talking about the story with the woman, because yes, our doctors are authorities, but we have to be the authorities of our own bodies and ourselves as well. And that's part of our subconscious. And so being somebody that's been really keyed into listening to my body and having to advocate for myself, as I get older, and of course those little aches and pains start coming up and things like that. And more people around me are experiencing life-threatening illnesses. I do notice that, and I don't know if that's why, but it could be that connection. I've been getting more and more dreams of visitations from the other side. And so that could be an age-related thing as well. But I think it's very possible that it does change as we age.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's quite possible. I mean, I've seen changes through the years. And of course, it has to do with what I'm going through at the time. But it is, I think, important to be respectful of where we are in our lives. And now I know also a lot of my clients, and me included, sometimes it feels like we're dipping into another reality. It's like it doesn't feel like a dream. It feels very real. Like the other night, I had a dream that I went to visit this house. I had seen it once, and then I went back to visit it because now it was for sale. I'm telling you, this dream was very real. And to the point where when I woke up, I almost asked my husband, do you remember this house? But I realized he wouldn't, because this was a separate reality I had just kind of fallen into. And it was pretty clear. And I'm like, why am I in this reality where there's this house that I'm supposed to see? It was very strange. Do you get stuff like that with your people too?
I do, and I've had that from other people too, where sometimes it's such a strong feeling that of being there, and
Yeah.
you almost can't like dissociate yourself from the dream once you wake up. But if you think about it, dream world is a very interesting place because there are not the limitations of time and distance and things like that that we have when we're waking, right? So and they used to call dreaming or sleep the little death because you were physically there, but your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, was someplace else. And I've talked to people too who feel like they call themselves dream walkers, like they've gone to different places during their dreams, and it's very real to them. And if you ask them, they can sketch out a picture. I've never gone someplace that looks different than this earth that we're living on, but I have had that experience with houses where it's so vivid and so lifelike that it's hard for me to understand, was that a memory or a dream? It gets the lines get very blurred, and I
Yes.
haven't figured out why that happens, but it's a very interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, it is. What do you recommend to people to become lucid?
Okay. So there's a couple things. A lot of it has to do with paying attention, quite honestly. One of the most common methods, and I think Dr. Stephen LaBerge, who was a pioneer in dream research, really, I think he was the one who initiated this, but I could be wrong. And that is cues, using cues throughout the day. And the thought process behind that is if you do these cues or checks throughout the day, then you'll become so used to them that in your dreams you will start doing them. So let me give you an example of what I mean. And I don't do this in public because people look at you kind of weird, but I will, if I would take a break at work and I would, go use the restroom, I would try poking my finger through a wall. Or every time I would walk under an arch, I would ask myself internally, am I in a dream? To the point that it becomes a regular habit, so that when you're in a dream, that you start asking yourself that, and oh my goodness, now your finger does go through the wall, or oh my goodness, you notice that things are not right per se. But the other thing that has been very helpful for me is to notice patterns of dreams, because after a while I realized, oh, this is the dream I've been having. I'm dreaming. I'm lucid. I'll give you an example. I always have, for many years, I've had a couple of repetitive dreams. One is being in an airplane and ending up in the wrong place. But the other one, and this is horrible, I arrive at Disneyland right when it's shutting down. Or I get there, and I go on like the Haunted Mansion, which of course is my favorite ride, and all it is someone carrying me in a little red wagon through their living room. Like it's horrible. But the thing about that, as disappointing as it is when I've had those dreams now, I've had them so many times that I'm like, oh, I'm in a dream. Now, the one thing I will say about lucid dreaming is people often think that when you talk about lucid dreaming, you're talking about being able to control your dreams, and that's part of it. But you can be lucid and not be able to control your dreams. So there's been times where I've been aware that I'm in a dream, but I can't change it. And one of the things that happens to a lot of people is when they do start to lucid dream, they realize they're in a dream and they get excited. And then the emotion, because they get so excited, makes the lucidity stop, makes the dream go away. So it's, a lot of it too is being able to temper your reaction when you realize you're in that dream.
Yeah, it's quite a skill to master. And I think that is definitely a wonderfully advanced type of thing to pursue, because it does give you, they say, whatever you have control over in your dreams, you can have control over in your life. So it does make sense to take those steps and practice, as you mentioned, while you're awake and go forward. I know of some very expert dream walkers like Carlos Castaneda. There's a wonderful experience that I heard from a psychiatrist friend of mine who knew the research institute who ran this experiment with Carlos. And again, he did all those wonderful books that all became New York Times bestsellers about learning from a shaman in what he called Mexico. It turns out to be New Mexico. But anyways, they had, I think it was 12 or 15 different participants, and they told them, just write down your dreams, and if anything unusual happens, call the institute in the morning and tell us. And so all of a sudden, after, I don't know, a month and a half or so, every single one of these participants called the Institute in the morning and said, last night, Carlos Castaneda walked into my dream, stuck out his hand and said, hello, I'm Carlos Castaneda. Call the Institute in the morning. So talk about dream control, the ability to dream walk. I mean, he clearly was a master at that. Yeah, he had his own issues, but he did learn quite a bit from the shaman. That was one of the things he learned.
Wow.
So we can all aspire to that, I guess, that level of expertise navigating the dream world. But to contact all of those participants in one night and the same message is extraordinary.
Definitely.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard that story. And it's kind of funny because, like you said, to do that much work, you must be tired, but you're doing it in your sleep. So I guess maybe you don't need the extra rest. But there was a chapter in my book that talks about dream projection, which is basically the same thing. And it is a really fascinating concept, and it shows up in different myths and things like that too. So I think it's been around for a long time, but that is pretty amazing.
It is. And if you look at the Aboriginal culture, their dream time, such a big part of their lives and life experience. So yeah, you see that these cultures, like, I think that is supposed to be the oldest in the world, isn't it? The Aborigines.
I think so.
I think so.
Known all of this. They've known how to do this. So again, very powerful magic,
They did all that without computers. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Are there any cautionary tales you have for people doing dream work?
I haven't had anybody have any issues come up with dream work that are like major issues. I will tell you one time, my first husband, my ex-husband, I was trying to work out an issue that was happening, and we ended up in the same dream. And we were both like, I think he said in the dream, which it wasn't my intent to do that, but he said in the dream, we can't meet up like this again. Not that anything was going on, but it was just like not intentionally on my part. I certainly didn't mean to violate his privacy, nor did he mean to violate mine, but just being aware that sometimes it can take you places that you weren't expecting. And so, I think that I also think it can be very, like, if you have night terrors, for example, it can be very terrifying if you're doing dream work and something like that happens. But again, I think the answer is, well, one, to really work on looking at research and things like that, to know how you're going to go about doing it. Because I think there are people that have natural talent for it, and then they end up in places or with dreams that they're just like, what happened? So I think really doing that part of it, doing the work. But I don't think there's nobody that I know that has ever said, I did this dream work and horrible things happened. So it's a pretty safe. I would say it's a safe venture as long as you don't have any pervading mental health issues. I think it can be sometimes harmful to people if they're working through certain mental health issues that maybe bar the lines of reality a little bit, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure. I mean, because you don't want them to get lost in the dreaming reality, thinking it is our waking reality. That's a very challenging place to be. But I think there's just so much more to learn about this whole topic. So again, we're very glad that you're here to talk about it with us and encourage people to please pay attention to their dreams and follow the directions. And it's not that hard to figure out what dreams are meaning, and especially if you get with a dream group, right?
Right. That can be very helpful. And the other two things I would say is that if you do have a regular meditation practice, that can be very helpful in your dream work, but also have fun with it. Approach it like play. If you're too serious about it, it's really hard, I think. Or if you're really hard on yourself, I want this to happen perfectly. You have to have some patience and you have to have some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it's just more drudgery. Who needs that? Right. Nobody.
I was going to say, don't you think many times people try so hard that they make it harder for themselves?
Yes. What are those, like, finger traps? And the harder you pull,
yeah.
I kind of think of it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Makes good sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is something. How long do you feel people have to be working with their dreams before they can ask a question and get an answer to that question?
That's a really hard question because I think there are some people that are more in tune with their dreams and some that are really starting from scratch. I find that people that and there's been research to support this. If you're somebody that's very creative and into creative expression, art, music, whatever the case may be, sometimes it comes a little easier to those people, or if you have a vivid imagination. But if you don't, it's okay. It may take you a little bit longer. One of the things that I found when I did start doing a dream journal, I always recommend that people, when they start doing a dream journal, that they wait a couple weeks before they look at it, because then you can go back and see the patterns. And so I think consistency is key. I can't really give you a specific amount of time, but I think if you do this consistently, I would say even within a matter of months, you could start getting the information that you seek.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. Yeah. Talk about power. I was living in a condo years ago and I kept a dream journal religiously. I mean, I made the dream journal myself, out of velvet and all this. I made it really nice. It felt like it belonged to me. And there was a fire in the condo. And this was on my nightstand. And everything around it burned except the dream journal.
Wow.
So, yeah, I still have it. It really taught me the power, when you put your intention into something and you have that strong of a relationship. Yeah. I mean, the glass melted on the window on one side and the bed, mattress fires, very hot fires. It was in between those two things.
Wow, that's
It
amazing.
survived. Yep. So it's powerful, everybody. So get this new book. It's a great book. And it is called Dream Magic. There it is. It's beautiful. I love the cover.
Lovely book. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So get it. Start paying attention to your dreams, get a
Right.
dream group going in your area. You can now all meet on Skype or Zoom or whatever. Share your dreams, and that's how you learn what they mean. There's great ways,
Absolutely.
great techniques to use in a dream group. So yeah, it all works in our favor. Absolutely. So oh my God, we're out of time. We have a minute to wrap.
It goes by so fast.
I know. It was so much fun having you here. Thank you.
Thank
Book
you.
is
It was fun
wonderful.
talking with you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It was great. Keep us posted on your next book, okay?
Okay, I will.
Yes. And so next week we'll be back again, everybody, with another great show. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night.
Good night.